All right, thanks again for watching some of our regional interviews. The goal of these, we need to end homelessness. We have a legislative agenda that we're trying to push forward in 2021, and we want to talk to people that can share some insights on homelessness throughout the state. We know shelter saves lives, which includes outreach, and housing ends homelessness. So our guest for this interview is Michael Huffman, who is a director of outreach and shelter at St. Stephen's, which is an amazing organization doing tons of great needed work. So Michael, I'm just going to dive right in with our first question for you. When we were talking before this, getting ready, you said like one of the definite needs is more shelter beds. Can you just expand on why you say that?
Yeah, so in my role, I and my staff take calls every day from folks who are looking to connect with shelter from all over the metro region because of the name of St. Stephen's. Folks hear about us and think that we have shelter that we can plug people directly into. Far too often on street outreach or even at our welcome center, we are getting calls and people are being told no, and there isn't space, or you can call Adult Shelter Connect, but the chance of space being available when they call is not high. And so honestly, for me, the toll that continually having to tell folks there aren't options, the toll that takes on staff is really, really hard. Not to mention the answer that folks who are calling and trying to connect with shelter has. I would also say that a lot of the shelter that's available is congregate spaces that in 2020 we've seen is not safe, and we've had in the past outbreaks of TB, other communicable diseases that are going to be better suited for smaller spaces, for culturally responsive spaces. And so we need more investment in this area.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to ask you what type of shelters, but you mentioned it. Do you want to expand on it a little bit? Is there anything else like either, if there's not enough shelter beds or the right type of shelters? You mentioned culturally appropriate. Any other type of shelters you'd say we need?
I think that we continue to see the opioid epidemic hit Minnesota very hard. And so we need to continue to develop and invest in non-sober, true harm reduction spaces that are staffed appropriately, because the reality is that staffing for those types of spaces, the costs related to those is increased. And so, but the other side is folks are ending up dying on the street, dying in their vehicles or in tents without anybody around them. And so this year, the Homeless Memorial March just happened and our outreach team lost far too many people. The shelters have seen the same kind of loss. And so each year we talk about, turning the corner and we need to actually invest in the kind of resources that we need.
Yeah, thank you. You're really hitting on a lot of really important points here. So I think when a lot of our interviews have either been from shelters or advocates, as somebody that's, leading a program for street outreach, are there specific, I don't know, like, what would you do if you had more resources? Or you could even answer what's going to happen if we don't invest in programs like yours?
Well, so a lot of times our street outreach team is one of the first interventions that folks who are new to homelessness experience. Right now, because of the size of our team, we are having to prioritize who is able to be served because we don't have the capacity and the staff to serve everybody. I'm afraid that with the eviction moratoriums that are eventually going to be lifted, who knows how long the economic crisis is going to be in place, we are likely going to see a significant increase in the number of people that are new to homelessness, that are and without shelter beds, without an investment in shelter, there are not places that are going to be available for folks to stay. And so our outreach team is going to have to be in a position, really, a really difficult decision. We continue to see more and more suburban unsheltered homelessness happening. And we get calls from other cities all the time outside of Minneapolis now, and we struggle. I would say we struggle to get to all of those places. So with continued or new investment in street outreach services, we would add staff that will then be able to make some of those connections. For a lot of our unsheltered folks, it particularly the longer term ones, the ones that we have tended to prioritize, it takes a lot of steps to get them from living outside to moving into housing, and connecting the dots, getting all of the paperwork and all of the pieces in place so that they can then have a safe, warm place to sleep inside, where they have the key, they can lock the door, control who is coming and going, and that is really our goal.
Well, I mean, thank you, Michael. That really lifts up the need for our advocacy. St. Stephen's already doing great work, and we would just love to be able to do our job as advocates and make your job easier and serve more people. If you're somebody that's watching this interview, I mean, a lot of the talking points you could use if you talk to elected officials, rewatch this and take notes about what Michael just shared with us. So thank you for watching. Michael, thank you for being, willing to let us interview and for the great work you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time.